Hello guys, welcome to my vlog. To those who are new to my YouTube channel, I am Daddy V, and in this channel I document my journey as a dad and an entrepreneur at the same time. In this episode, I am very excited to tell you that we have a very special guest. So just recently, to those who have been following my vlog, we are already engaged in the business of buying and selling sports cards. And I am very happy about it. No. Then recently I am thinking how can I establish or grow my brand further, and how can I sustain this business. This video would very much help you on how you can pursue the sports cards business, and how you can start buying and selling sports cards. No? So we've interviewed a very well-known dealer and entrepreneur in the sports cards industry who owns GotBaseballCards.com. I am very excited to interview him. I just DM'd him in Instagram, and I was hoping for the best that he would reply. And we are very fortunate because he replied and he accepted our invitation to have him in this episode. So he is Mr. Joe Davis of GotBaseballCards.com, and I hope this interview would help us and inspire us in our sports cards investing, collecting, buying and selling journey. So please stick around, and please, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on our video. So without further ado, let's hear our interview with Mr. Joe Davis of GotBaseballCards.com. Um, uh, shall shall we start by introducing yourself, Sir Joe?
Sure thing. Yeah, my name is Joe Davis. I am president of and founder of Got Baseball Cards. I've been in the hobby, been a collector ever since I was 8 years old in 1976. I remember opening my first packs of cards, and then opened my first store in 1991. I had a partner at the time. We had traveled and done sports card shows together in college, and then I bought him out after, I guess, about 4 years, and have been running the business ever since. And so live in the state of Georgia, here in the States, and grew up here, and only live about 15 miles from where I grew up. So
Okay.
and our business is about 10 minutes from where I live. So very, very blessed to be to still stay in the same general community where I grew up.
Sir Joe, how did you get into sports cards in the first place? Yeah.
Well, as a collector, like every kid, that was just something I wanted to collect. My mom would take me to the grocery store or whatever on the way home, and it was funny how cards became an incentive for me to get good grades in school. I was a good student, but I would earn extra cards by getting good grades on my report card. So my mom would put packs of cards in her dresser drawer and then reward me when I got good grades. So I learned to associate, the value of cards, came from getting good grades. And so I became pretty serious by the late 70s. I was as much as a kid my age, as a 10-year-old could be serious, but just loved to open packs and trade with my friends. And I guess when middle school, high school, I really didn't do much with cards there, focused on school and dating and things like that. I still bought cards, but I mainly just said, yeah, I'll buy a few boxes each year and just put them up. And then in 1987 was there was a boom in the industry in the late 80s, which is still evident by all the product that's still out there. Um, at least in our country, there was there was overproduction in the late 80s, and so 1987 is when I went off to college, and so I had a little more freedom, and I started attending more card shows. And then by 1988, I was actually promoting shows and setting up at them and traveling around the Southeast in the States. And then in 1991, literally the week before I was graduating, I had an opportunity to open a store with my friend Jeff Porter, who I had done shows with in college. He had graduated the year before me and was working at a card store. And the owner had decided to close after just a few months. And he said, we can buy his showcases, buy some of his inventory at a really good price. And we're already established because we've been around for a few months. And so I thought it's a pretty great opportunity to step into. We only had to sign a 6-month lease. So I prayed about it, talked to my parents about it, and they agreed that I should go for it. And we struggled for a very long time. It was very challenging. I mean, because there was no internet to sell on. It was all, it was basically just our retail store. And over time, we started doing mail order, through advertising and publications like Beckett and Sports Collectors Digest and things like that. But I mean, it took a while. I mean, there was no quick path
Big
to
pass.
getting your name out there back then.
Okay. Sergio, how old were you when you started the sports cards business or your store?
I was 22.
Oh,
22 when I opened the business.
wow, you're so young that time, a young entrepreneur by that time, right? And why did you decide to turn your hobby or collecting into a business?
Well, it was what I had wanted to do. I loved collecting. Like I said, the hobby was very hot at the time. We didn't realize how overproduced some of the stuff was, but there was a lot of demand, and older cards were starting to go up in value, and it was my dream to do it.
Okay.
I didn't really plan on it. I didn't plan on doing that right out of college because I was about to get married that fall.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have if I had had to just start on my own. But like I said, when my partner, my old show partner, we used to promote shows together, was going to go in 50-50, and then we didn't have to make a major financial commitment to do it, and didn't have to sign a long-term lease. I thought, well, I remember my mom saying, now's the time to try this if you're ever going to try it. And so I was like, so we tried it, and um, you know, like I said, it took a long. There were many years, many moments where I was ready to give up, but continued to stay at it. But that was why I had just graduated with a business degree from Berry College, and
Wow.
so I was going to go into sporting goods. I had an opportunity to go into the management program for a sporting goods company, the Finish Line, and I'd already interviewed and I'd been accepted, and I was kind of going from it was literally I was going the next day
Oh,
for my final interview, and where they were going to say, we'd like to hire you for this location or whatever. And my old college friend called me and he's like, hey, we have a chance to buy this store and take this over. And I was like, oh. And so literally, I think maybe it was 2 days, but it was all in the same week.
yes. Wow.
And so I was just like, wow, what an opportunity.
Yes.
And so I literally opened the store the week I was graduating from college. So
So, you're a living testament that some says that um, the hobby or the sports cards hinders their schooling or education. So it's really not. It's really not. And you, as a living proof, no, I think you just have to balance your time or have time management. So when you chose on purchasing that store, um, does it require you to have a large amount of capital to start your sports cards business?
no, literally,
No.
I think I had maybe. I think I mean, my partner, he had his inventory. I have my inventory. And so as far as our singles inventory, we were just kind of like, we tried to balance out that we both put in about the same amount of market value. And then the wax inventory we bought from, I mean, we were buying into a store that was already there. So he had a lot of boxes he was packing out and stuff like that. We didn't buy any of the high dollar stuff, but we bought, I don't know what we didn't spend much. I mean,
Wow. Okay.
I think we spent maybe a couple thousand a piece.
Okay. Wow.
Of course, again, this was
It's not that much.
1991.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nowadays it costs you that to buy one box, but uh, so I mean, remember that our average price point then was, upper deck was $1 a pack and tops was 50 cents a pack.
Wow.
That
Yeah.
was full retail.
Yes. Now
So
it's there's no amount like that now.
no, no.
Okay. Now, Sir Joe, you mentioned that you have partnered when you started the business. What's the advantages of and disadvantages of having a partner? And when you bought him out, what's the advantages and disadvantages it offers you or it made you?
Uh, the advantages, I'd say some of the advantages are, of course, you get more capital that way. You have more funding, if you have somebody that goes in with you. You have somebody to bounce ideas off of. You have, somebody else to handle the workload.
Mhm.
Of course, you're getting a built-in employee as well, depending on what the arrangement is. So there were advantages to it. What happened with us by the mid 90s, my partner was wanting to pursue other business ventures. He had bought into a restaurant, and he wasn't really at the store very much. And so I was like, I'm the one doing the work, and I just kind of was getting a vision for things I wanted to do with the business. And so I bought him out, and we're still friends to this day. We still talk periodically. Um, and he's been successful in other things he's done. But, I'm not going to say I recommend it to start, but you've got to know the person really well. You've got to be able to trust the person really well, which that wasn't an issue for me. But I'm a vision caster, and I have an idea and I want to do things a certain way. So as I tell people, I'm not the best follower, but I like to cast vision and lead things and put people around me that can get on board with the vision that I'm casting, and and take on new challenges and try new things, and we're constantly reinventing ourselves, always trying new things. Some work, some don't, so always. So just word of advice, be very careful about who you don't want to open something with.
Okay.
I wouldn't jump in with somebody that you've just met. Just because they've got money or financing is not the reason to open it with them. You've got trust is number one. You've got to be able to trust the person, and you also need to. It's almost a marriage in a sense that you've got to understand how they work, how they think, and is there going to be synergy with you working together, or is there going to be a lot of conflict? And it's best to figure that out before you put your names together on a contract, or open a business together. So it's more of, I'd recommend, I have some friends who their sports card breaking business was going pretty well. Then they added a silent partner who was just more of a financial partner to help, but they're still calling the shots on the day to day. So that's a little easier to manage, I guess.
Okay. Sir Joe, why is the name Got Baseball Cards? I'm just curious.
Sure. Well, you might know this. I don't know if this has been a popular advertising campaign there, but years ago, the milk industry here in the States started running ads for Got Milk, and
Oh.
they would run ads with NBA players with a milk mustache, and they would have athletes, saying "Got milk" and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then I was at a restaurant, a seafood restaurant, and they were using the same kind of logos for their seafood. And I'm like, got baseball cards. And I thought, as a kid, what did I do when I met somebody in my neighborhood? I'd say, hey man, you got baseball cards?
Oh yeah.
And so I was like this is the question I've asked since I was a kid.
Mhm.
And um, so we were just like, it's kind of catchy. I mean, our corporate name is J&J Sports Section, but
Okay.
and it had been that for years. And then we were like, got baseball cards. Yeah, it's kind of catchy. It's memorable.
Yes, it
There's
is.
nothing else out there, And so we tell people, got baseball cards and basketball and football and everything else.
Yeah.
So it's short and to the point, and the domain was available,
Yeah.
when I bought it. So,
It's very easy to remember, Sir Joe.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Um, it's nice you mentioned the humble beginnings of Got Baseball Cards earlier. Now, what's the do you mind telling us the current state of Got Baseball Cards or J&J Sports?
yeah. It's very good. We were so blessed. Tell you, this past year for all of us has been unlike anything we could have ever predicted. When the year started, we'd come off a really good year in 2019, and we were looking forward to another strong year in the hobby. And then things were going really well. And then I remember the night the NBA shut down here, and I was
Yes.
like, oh, this is not good. Because I'm like, I knew other sports were going to follow. I was just like, and I remember telling my wife, like, what are we going to do? I'm like, if there's no, this was my perception at the time. Like, if there's nothing to watch on TV, therefore the athletes aren't performing.
Okay.
So no rookies are going to get hot. No
Yeah.
veterans are going to continue to build to their career numbers, and people are going to they're going to find something to do if they can't watch sports. And I'm just like, this is so, because my mindset was, this is kind of like a strike scenario if every sport went on strike because they're not playing.
Yes.
Other than you're not necessarily mad at them, because the reason to do it, but we were really concerned. And so we shut our retail store down for walk-in business back in March, and we still aren't having walk-in business. I mean, like, our regulars will come by, they'll say, hey, I need to drop off some cards for grading or whatever. And so I'll do appointments with them, like, one at a time, but we're not just wide open to the public to come in. We literally meet customers out in the parking lot and try to stay safe and protect them, protect us. Never would have dreamed I'd be doing a bunch of business out in the park. Thankfully, we have a big parking lot.
Yes.
But in spite of all that, it was a fantastic year. There's a lot of factors that played into that. Um, I honestly think the pandemic, where we had the major shutdown here and across the globe, a lot of people were stuck at home, and they someone rediscovered collecting. I think a lot of fathers and sons got
Yes.
together and said, son, I loved collecting,
Yeah.
and let me show you this. And a new generation has learned the fun of collecting sports cards. And so I think that had part to do with it. I think ESPN at least here, did a really good job with The Last Dance,
Yes.
and the summer, whatever they call it, the Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and other, the documentaries they did that helped people kind of rekindle their love for sports, maybe, 20, 30 years ago, whatever. So um, a lot of things helped fuel that. And just the fact that the demand for sports cards, it didn't soften at all. In fact, it grew. And I started seeing this back in 2019. I spoke at the industry summit hosted by Beckett and Panini. And I told them then, I remember, I think it was September of 2019. And I told them, and I said, they're coming. Like, more and more people are coming into the industry than you've seen in decades. People are, I don't remember my exact words, but I said, there's a lot of money coming off of Wall Street and coming into the sports card market. And so I said, understand, we're, like, you talk about Gary V,
Yeah.
guys like that who can shift an entire industry,
Yes.
who can say, I'm going to spend a few million this week on this guy, and this guy. I said, that can shift an entire industry. I mean, you're talking about, I mean, you think about like a LeBron James Chrome rookie,
Yes.
which is, in a nine is say a $4,000 card right now. There's not that many of them out there
Yes.
in good grade. And that's a card everybody who collects basketball would love to own one of those.
Yes.
So that's just, I sold one of those this week. So that's an example. But
Nice.
a couple of guys buying some of those up can dramatically shift. I mean, I remember at the 2019 National I guess it was in July or early August, and I was walking around the room and I saw people with massive piles in their showcase, stacked 100 high of a certain card. And then it would say, not for sale, I'm buying these.
Oh,
It might be a Durant Chrome rookie, or it was LeBron's, or sometimes it was new Sam Darnold. I mean, there was different ones that people were buying up, and I was just like, and I could just see the wheels were turning in my head. Like, okay, these guys are not collectors; they're investors, and
yes.
they're pouring large amounts of money into specific players or specific rookie crops from Prism or Optic or whatever. And so I was like, this is going to shift the industry, and the more it shifts on these older cards, the more demand there's going to become when the new releases come out. And we've seen that, when like Prism football this year, which had an SRP of I think $150, and it came out on release date at 1,000 to 1,050 here. It was 7 to 8 times suggested
Yes.
retail.
But it's
And
still sold out.
oh yeah, and it's not like it softened any. I mean, I was stunned at some football just this week how it continues to move up. So I don't even remember what question we started on now, but
But
I'll let you get
to
me back on task
yeah,
here.
to your point, no one is during the pandemic,
Yeah.
yeah, many collectors came back to the ano, and me, I
Yes.
collected in the 90s, and they came back just this during pandemic, and it because I want to have a business with my son. When we reap packs, when we when we see our cards, it brings happiness to us, and especially to my son. And the second is there's a lot of new commerce in the hobby. Just in the Philippines, soccer and NFL is not that famous.
Hmm.
But I was quite surprised when I released some cards of NFL and soccer cards. There are customers buying it, even though
Wow.
even though there's even no Sky Sports here where we can watch soccer, or but there are people buying and investing on this soccer card. So it's really surprising for me, even
Mm.
here
Wow.
in the Philippines. I'm quite surprised. Oh, NFL, soccer. No? So it's quite surprising. So next question, Sergio. How did you get that much inventory of cards? Where do you source your inventory? Because
Um,
you're one of the retailer or dealer there with the largest inventory of sports cards.
yeah, I mean, it's one card at a time, literally.
Mm.
I started the business, and my partner and I could not fill up a 500 square foot store.
Oh,
That was our retail store, was 500 square feet. And then, between buying collections and it, as far as, what we buy direct, I don't think any of the stores here I talk to a lot of shop owners, and, we compare what our allocations are, and they're not great. Especially with like Panini hobby stuff, there's so much demand, and, I'm very thankful for what we get. But, some products, it's one case or two cases. There's just not that much to go around. And I get a little bit more with Tops because we've been with them since 92, but still I try to supplement it like with what I buy from distributors, get whatever I can there, even though it's a little bit higher cost. But as far as just the quantity of singles we have online, it's literally just been years and years of adding, buying collections. um, I have a very different approach to buying than a lot of people do when it comes to collections. I believe in buying collections that I know I can break even on, and some will only buy a collection if they know they have a certain amount of profit built in. And so I'll actually look at a collection sometimes, and I'll segment it. Um, we call it the meat and the potatoes approach. And I'll separate the meat over here, like this is the key to
Okay.
it, and then here's everything else. And so, and I might buy the collection, like I'll say, the good stuff over here I can resell for $2,000 or whatever, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff over here I may never get to, or it's not going to necessarily generate a lot of income, but it'll build inventory. And so I'm like, if I can resell this stuff quickly, get my money back, then I'm basically getting a lot of inventory for free. And so I call it the reservoir approach, because there's always
Nice.
an extra reservoir of inventory that I'm building. And so we've built up millions of cards that way. And it keeps the customer happy because they feel like they're maximizing, they're getting the money for their good stuff, and they don't really care necessarily about the other stuff anyway. And sometimes that other stuff turns out to be something really good,
Yes.
and
Nice.
it takes, so just, it's just years and years of buying, of trying to be fair with trying to be fair with those who are selling. We don't buy every collection. I mean, I missed out on one earlier, middle of last year, that it was a huge warehouse full of stuff, and I thought we made a really fair offer, and they decided to go with a different company, and that's, I was hoping I was going to get a call back, but we didn't. But it's okay. But we try to be aggressive, buying collections, and it's always fun. I love the ones that you kind of buy blind, because you don't really
Yeah.
like you see it. I bought one last year. May have been no, it actually was the tail end of 2019. It was a storage shed in a guy's backyard, and and he did not speak much English,
Mhm.
and I didn't speak much Spanish, but we communicated enough where I knew what he wanted, and
Okay.
he had a friend who kind of helped us communicate, and he told me the price, and I looked a little bit, and I was just like, and I hadn't really dug that deep, but I'm like, I think this will be fine. So we agreed to the price. I bought it, and then, you know, week later, 2 week later, as we're digging through it, we're like, oh wow, there was some old wax from the
Wow.
80s
Yeah.
in it. It was just like a kid at Christmas, like, wow, what am I opening up? What am I going to find? That's always fun. The kid in me
Yeah,
still loves those collections.
that's fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
The element of surprise is always fun. Um,
right.
so to those who are watching, we are with Sir Joe Davis of GotBaseballCards.com, and if you don't know him, is his shop is the top retailer of the year in 2019 of Tops, and he's very knowledgeable about the hobby, and we are very blessed to interview him today in our show, and we are discussing how to start a sports cards business. So again, let's go back to our question, Sir Joe. In entering the sports cards business, I believe you can enter in one is selling raw cards, two is selling graded cards, three is selling sealed boxes, and number four is box breaking. Can you rank from one to four where a startup shall start?
Um, I think you pretty much have to start with the raw cards,
Okay,
because that's what you're most likely to have on hand. I mean,
okay,
um, we do a great business in graded cards, but because of the time lag to get the stuff graded right now, that would be a barrier to entry to a new, unless you got plenty of capital, plenty of money to go out
okay,
and buy the graded cards. Because you're when it comes to the graded card industry, the most profit is going to be when you can make wise decisions about buying them in raw form,
okay,
getting them graded yourself,
okay.
and then you benefit from the high grades.
Yeah,
Um, if I mean, there's plenty of people out there who buy graded, sit on it like an investment, resell it later if they can pick the right players. So
okay,
if you've got enough money to do that, my son was actually just talking to me about that with Trey Young, and saying, Daddy, should we buy up a bunch of Trey Young? Because we're here in Atlanta, and he's, of course, a rising star in the NBA, and he's also local for us. So we were talking about buying up a lot of his graded cards. But as far as breaking and remind me the fourth option again. You said
The
raw
sealed
cards.
boxes,
Yeah,
sealed
yeah.
boxes and breaking. Yes.
I mean, if you can get anything direct, I mean, if you can get a direct account with manufacturers, then certainly you want to take advantage of that. Been buying, right now, you pretty much want to buy nearly any product you could buy direct from a manufacturer you want to get. There's very little downside. There'll be one or two that tank, but in general, you're pretty safe. So yeah, if you can get it with manufacturers and go for that, because right now you've got guaranteed profit margin there. Breaking is probably the hardest. I would say is number 4, because you have to first have the audience. You can't. I mean, we have a lot of followers and we do really well with soccer, but there's other sports that we still struggle with doing breaks, and because we just don't have the audience for those sports necessarily. And honestly, the market's so strong for boxes right now. There's some of it where we're like, why do we need to break this? We can just sell it. We make, there's a decent margin there to just sell it, because breaking is a lot of work. I mean, it's, if you're doing team breaks or divisional breaks or whatever, there's a lot of logistics to keep up with and manage and sort. And, it'll help you grow your audience, but it's a lot of work. So if you already have a great following on YouTube or Instagram or wherever you're wanting to do your breaks, then that could be a wise step, to take. But in general, I would say the easiest way just to get your feet wet in the industry is selling raw cards that you have in your collection, then sending them off to get graded, which we help people all over the planet with that. And then, reselling graded. And, if you can get in direct with companies or get in with a distributor, wherever, I don't know who all y'all have opportunities to work with there, but, take advantage of those opportunities if they're there. But the easiest way to get your foot in the door is start with single cards.
Okay.
And now, I will say this: anybody with, $1,000 who can go on eBay and buy and make wise buying decisions. You can literally go on eBay, purchase stuff like buy lots of a player that you think is going to get hot, then break it out and sell it a card at a time and make money, and you don't have a lot to start with. What I always recommend to people is become the absolute authority on one player or one sport, or, don't try to be, if you try, I mean, we do a lot of things in the business, but if you can't launch a business, say, I'm going to be the best breaker and I'm going to be the best guy for graded, I'm going to be the best guy for singles in every sport, picks, if you really love NBA, that's my favorite sport.
Okay.
If you really love NBA, then pick out, let's say you pick out 5 or 10 guys. 10's probably too many. Pick out 5 guys and you say, I'm going to follow his statistics. I really believe in his potential. I'm going to buy up a bunch of his rookies or a bunch of his second year. I'm going to buy stuff that I think will grade well. Specialize in that guy. When you go on eBay or whatever platform you're buying cards off of, run searches for that guy, run lots, and click on newly listed, and so that you can catch stuff before somebody else does. And, you become the authority on that guy or that team or that whatever. You can broaden it to a brand, to an entire sport. But I'm pretty versed in basketball rookies right now, but you can't do it all. You wear yourself out. Yeah. You can either do, it's more of a life lesson. You can do several things halfway, or you can do a few things really well.
Nice.
So
Yes.
choose to do a few things really well.
We're really learning a lot from you, Sir Joe. Our next question is actually, I'm watching every morning your U.S. Soccer Breaks. You started U.S. Soccer Breaks, one of the most successful soccer breakers in the U.S. Can you tell us reasons why you entered the soccer market?
Yeah, that started with my friend Austin Brown. He was a customer for years who bought soccer from me,
Okay.
and he kept telling me, "Man, I think it'd be really fun to start doing breaks." And he had a full-time job, and I said, "Well, why don't you tell a bunch of your buddies online that you're in soccer break groups with?" And I said that we're going to break a case of black gold soccer or whatever. I think black gold was one of our first ones. And so on a Saturday, he told a bunch of his friends, and he broke a case or a couple cases, and I was like, man, that was great. We made a little bit, and then we started trying to fill breaks. And I remember early on, um, we had so many where like we can't get this break filled, we can't get this break filled, and I would say, how close are we to breaking even? And he'd be like, well, we're $100 away because these 8 teams haven't sold or whatever. And I'd be like, just go ahead and break it. I said, because that's going to keep the other people happy. We'll keep the cards from the teams that didn't sell. And I said, and that'll build up our soccer inventory. And sometimes we came out ahead, sometimes we didn't, but we were building the customer base.
Nice.
So that's kind of how we got started, and then it kept growing and growing. We broke like one of the funniest stories of how we were so blessed is we broke over 100 cases of 2018 World Cup soccer in 2018.
In 2018.
And back then, nobody really cared about base cards.
Yes.
Who wanted? I mean, they didn't want to pay for us to ship them their base card. They're like, keep all those Messis and Ronaldos and Mbappes, and so then a couple of years later, we get to 2020, and like suddenly people are grading 2018 World Cup soccer, and we had like, I don't know, 150 Mbappes still.
Wow.
And then we had like Messi and Ronaldo. We probably had 250 of each, and they were
From
all
those
free.
breaks. From those
And they were
breaks.
yeah. We had a room stacked with probably 200,000 18 World Cup cards just stacked up,
Wow.
and they've been sitting there gathering dust for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, like, wow! And then it was like every week it was like, oh, it's time to pull Neymar, and it's time to pull Coman, and it's time to pull Werner, and just one after the other
Yes.
started trending, and we're like, so we have hundreds of them at PSA right now, still waiting to get back. But so that was you just never know. And what's funny is a lot of those breaks we made very little margin on when it was just like, we're close. Let's go ahead and get this break done, and we're making a little bit, so let's just go ahead and break it. If we have a few teams left over, it's okay. But that is the start of how we helped build our customer base. And so and we partnered with a friend who actually already had the name US Soccer Breaks, and then we partnered with him and got the name, and now we we're already amped up. We've got Immaculate Soccer tomorrow morning. We'll be tomorrow morning for us. We'll be breaking 3 cases first thing tomorrow morning, and we're can't wait to see the kind of hits that come out of it.
Yes. It's always exciting to watch the US soccer breaks. Actually, every morning I watch it. Honestly.
Really? Yeah,
um,
Austin does a great job with it. Yeah.
yes. Um, Sir Joe, what's the current state of the sports cards industry, and what potential do you see for it in the future?
It's the best I've ever seen it. I mean, I've been in the hobby as a collector since 76. I've been a dealer since 88 and full time since 91. And I can honestly say I've never seen it better. I mean, it's been good since for like the last 5 years, but it's just continued to ramp up and ramp up. And it's amazing. There's so many new people coming in. I can't keep track of how many emails I got last year. People, hey, I'm back in the hobby, or I'm new to the hobby, or there's so many. As I told people when I spoke at 2019 at the industry summit, I said, our industry, it's even more accurate now, but I used the phrase that our industry is starting to trend. It's starting to be culturally accepted that it's
Yeah.
cool to collect sports cards, and it's not just a niche thing anymore. It's very accepted. And so now even more so that, it's when you've got NBA players collecting, and you've got celebrities and hip hop
Celebrities.
artists and all these people who are talking about their sports card collection, that trickles down. And we've seen a lot of people in the sneaker industry. There's a great synergy between those two industries of the people who collect sneakers and collect sports cards. They work together. So I've never seen the hobby stronger. It's very safe, I believe, right now as an investment vehicle, because the print runs are so low compared to, it goes back to my economics minor in college. The law of supply and
Supply and
demand
demand.
still works.
Yes.
And right now, when you've got a finite amount of anything that there is a high demand for, it
The price is
continues to
high.
go up. Yeah. Starts
um,
high and often goes higher.
I even saw something. Is it Rally? They're treating us the sports cards as if it's a corporation where you can own a share, a stock. I was
Yeah.
really amazed at that.
Fractional ownership.
Yes, a fractional ownership. Yeah. So, you're right. There's a lot of potential for the hobby. Now, there's a cliche. You've mentioned that there are many new customers coming in, or new hobbies coming to the sports cards industry. But there's a cliche that the hobby is just for is 99 or 98% male, and it's just for male. In your opinion, what can the hobby do to for women to also enter into the hobby?
Um, that's a tough one. I mean, I will say that, like, Prism WNBA was a really strong product that was accepted both by guys and girls buying it. So that's one example of Panini trying to stretch out to maybe, more female customers. But I know there's a lot of females who buy non-sports. So that's kind of an entry point to get them into a sports card store, maybe, um, and maybe trying to push, hey, this is a great thing to do together as a couple. This is something you can enjoy together at home. And my wife had collected, not she's not a collector, but she's helped me at card shows over the years.
Oh, okay.
She's helped me, she'll still call me like, hey, I'm at Walmart. Do you want me to buy any of these? Or, hey, I'm at
It's so
Target, and they've got this new product. Is this any good? And she'll send me a picture. Should I buy any of this? So, uh, but it's that is still a tough one. Yeah, I would love to see a bigger percentage of ladies in the hobby, um, but that, I don't think we've succeeded in that yet.
yes.
But there's, I mean, the percentage of sports fans who are women has grown dramatically. I don't know the percentage now, but it's way up. I know from when I was a kid. It was just not the accepted thing that a bunch of girls would go out to a football game together. But now that's very common. So that trend, and I think we'll see it. We're seeing female collectors. I mean, excuse me, we're seeing more female sports fans. So sooner or later, I think more will get on board with collecting as well. And it's up to our industry leaders to
Yes.
figure out how to market to them more effectively.
One observation I have for my female customers is when the player like Ronaldo, like Pulisic, um, the handsome guys like Levine, Zach Levine, and Kelly Oubre Jr. They buy those cards. Why? Not because they know them, just because they're handsome.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I knew where you were going as soon as you said Ronaldo. I'm like, yeah, I know where you're going with this one.
So for these questions, next question. Many do not believe that sports cards can be turned into a sustainable business. Your thoughts on this?
Oh, it absolutely can be. I mean, I'm living proof of that.
Nice.
So not by my strength, by the grace of God blessing me to do what I do, but um, so it's certainly sustainable in this day and age of the internet. I mean, I look back, like I said, 30 years ago when I started this, I was trying to live off of people walking into my store only. That was my whole customer base, and it was for several years. Nowadays, if you have a passion to work hard, you've got a little bit of startup money. Um, and you're willing to put forth the effort to get the knowledge about the cards and so forth. There's no excuse not to find a way to succeed in this industry, because there's so many tools available to collectors to help you gain more knowledge. There's so many people you can learn from. There's so many different avenues, and we've talked about them. You can sell raw cards, you can sell graded cards, you can be a breaker, you can buy wax and sit and hold. I mean, if you had just bought up a bunch of basketball wax 6, 7, 8 months ago, you could have made 5 times your money on it in six
Sure.
or 7 months. So, it's, I like to tell, people who go, "Oh, you're successful." I'm like, like, if you're not successful in the industry right now, you're doing something wrong, because it's not that hard right now. I'm not saying it's not going to change in 6 months or a year or whatever, but right now, if you just make some decent, I mean, as I told somebody, our industry, if our industry was a mutual fund, it would be a buy right now. Just as a whole, you buy up quantities of this guy or that guy, and you sit on them for 6 months, and you probably make money. So certainly, if you can make wise decisions and guess right about who is going to perform later this year, who's going to perform over the next couple of years. So my son and I just had this talk last night that about undervalued NBA players. Like, if you can pick them now before they start trending, you can make exponential profit. But that requires research. That requires maybe watching the ball games and going, yeah, this guy's got it. He's going to be a star. You can't just buy blindly. You got to do your work. You got to do your research. So yeah, it's definitely sustainable. Um, I tell people, just don't get in over your head.
Nice.
You've got to take it a step at a time. I mean, if I had thought, 30 years ago, if I said, "Oh, I'm going to open a 10,000-foot building with 12 employees," not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'd be out of business really quick. And now I'm like, what would I do without all this space and without all these people helping me? So
Nice. Um, is there a secret of success of Got Baseball Cards which you can share to those who want to start a sports cards business?
For me, it starts with my faith. I am a believer in Jesus
Wow.
Christ, um, and I say it that way rather than just saying I'm a Christian, because some people say, "Oh, it just means you go to church." Like, no, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ and what He did for me, and I'd follow His example. And I go to in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 23, and in verse 11, 12, He talks about the greatest among you must be a servant. And so we believe in the servant model of serving customers. And so whatever that means, like, we do the grading for customers. Yeah, there's some profit there, but it's about building relationships with those customers. It's about serving them, because they don't want to have to write up orders and ship stuff off themselves to PSA. They want to walk to us or mail it to us, and we do all the work. We offer consignment to customers because that's a way to serve them. Yes, we make some profit, but it helps meet a need in their life. It helps provide financing, whatever. So we lead with serving, not. And
Nice.
I tell other shop owners all the time, it's like, figure out how you can more successfully, or how you can better serve your customers, not how you can better sell to your customers. You
Wow.
know,
Nice.
think
Nice words.
about service before you think about selling.
Solid.
Because if you serve the customer well, they'll come back to buy the product. You know, I have customers that have shopped with me for 30 years.
Wow.
It's not because maybe they didn't find a better price one time or something. It's like, hey, I know you'll take care of me. And so, I thought of an example or to share with you. It's better to, when it comes to the selling and trying to build relationships, it's better to sell 10 items at 10% margin than one item at 100% margin.
Nice.
Because when you sell those 10 items at 10% margin, you've been fair to the customer. You've built relationships with 10 customers instead of one.
One.
And instead of taking advantage of that one who may never come back again, you might have made that one big sale, but they may never shop with you
Yeah.
again because you've hurt the relationship. So try to price stuff fairly. It's okay to disagree on pricing, but if relative market on something is $100 and you're at 250, they're going to go like, why are you so high?
So yeah.
You might say, I really believe in this guy. I'm at 1.25 or whatever, but, I encourage a potential shop owner, lead with integrity. Three of our benchmarks have always been service, selection, and integrity. And because in this industry, there's some people who don't have it.
Yes.
And there's some who have come and gone because of that. They might have had a great selection, they might have had great pricing, but if they compromise on their integrity, if they're selling you resealed wax or they're selling you altered cards that they know are altered, stuff like that, they're not going to be around because our industry weeds out the bad players pretty quickly. And so, it's not about the cards. It's about, how you treat people, focus on building relationships. It's so you're going to have customers who are always just chasing the cheapest price, and
Yes.
you're never going to, you might get that customer one time because you were the lowest price, but he'll be gone next week to go somewhere else. Your goal is to build relationships with customers, serve them effectively, and they'll be back.
Um, Actually, I was about to ask why your mission is to honor God in all that we do and all that we do to your customer.
Yeah.
Now I get why God Baseball Cards mission is that.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's really important that the anchor of our business is our faith.
Yeah.
That's very important. So, um, we are really learning a lot from Sergio of God Baseball Cards. So, now let's go to your family, Sergio, just to liven
Sure.
up our discussion. When you get into the sports cards business, do you get quality time with them? Are they involved in sports cards? Are they involved in the operations of the sports cards business?
Well, my wife is a middle school assistant principal, and
Oh,
my son and daughter are both out of the house now. My son is married, lives across the country in California, and my daughter is a choral teacher, and so they have both at different times worked in the business. My wife back in the day ran my store when I was uh, out of town. Sometimes she would run the store for me. My son is still very involved in the business. He helps with our grading business, both from design work on our website. We have our own COMC account together. He and I do, where we
eh,
prospect and buy guys up for grading, mainly all NBA guys. We buy up quantities of certain players, then we get them graded together and then sell them. So it's a fun thing
it's
that we can
fun.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we can share together. And so all of my family have been involved at different times. As I said, my dad, who passed away 3 years ago, he was the first one who ever took me to card shows. Um,
Oh,
my
okay.
mom, my mom helped finance. My parents helped finance the start of the business and have helped over time when we expanded. When we bought our own building a couple of years ago,
Right. Wow.
my mom helped loan me the money to have the money to buy a half, nearly $500,000 building. And so From my parents all the way down to my kids, I've received support and help and guidance over the years. And my kids, I've often asked them for advice on social media and what channels to be on and how do I connect with people and stuff like that. So very, very blessed. As far as the quality time, it's a challenge. Right now, my wife's very busy with her career. We're busy all the time, but and our schedules are a little different because she goes to work very early in the morning, and I go a little later in the day. But we get as much as we can. How's that? So I mean, we have quality time together usually on Sundays, and then intermittently during the week. So
Okay, it's nice that they serve as your support system in the sports car. They support you, even your parents. I was amazed. Even your parents supported you. So, lastly, this is usually the motivational question my some of my customers ask me. Most of them, some of them, the initial they told me they are saying that their family's initial reaction when they say that they are into sports cards or they're into their hobby or collecting sports cards is that it's just a cardboard. It's just a cardboard. Then there's no support at all. What advice can you tell these collectors when they hear this?
well, I mean, to a coin collector, you could say that's just a piece of metal. You know, to a stamp collector, it's just a piece of postage. To an art collector, it's just something somebody scribbled on a canvas. What's the big deal?
Yes.
The bottom line is if you have something that, let's just say the term collectible, that there is a limited amount of and there's a great demand for. It doesn't matter if it's a comic book, if it's a piece of cardboard, as they might say, or whether it's a coin or whatever. If it's something of a finite quantity and there's more demand than there is supply, then there is some possibility to make some profit there. And when you build that over time, you can build a business out of that. So I mean, trust me, I've been told over the years, I've heard it all. My dad, when I started, it was like, he was like, you want to do, he's like, son, understand you're about to get married. You got to actually support a family one day. And so like, what are you doing? And then it's funny, my dad came and worked for me later. After he retired from his career, he came and worked for me. And then I remember vividly, early in my career, I used to buy up tickets, game tickets
Game
from
tickets.
sports events. And like when Mark McGuire was going on his home run chase to break Maris's record, I would buy, like when he hit number 62, first time the record was broken, I called up, and then he continued, 63, 4. I would call the baseball stadiums wherever he was playing and try to buy up any standing room only tickets or any untorn, full tickets from that night. And I told him, I said, oh yeah, the other night I bought 2,000 tickets to this ball game. And he looked at me and he said, but you didn't go to the game? And I'm like, no, it was in another state. And he said, you bought 2,000 tickets to a ball game that had already been played and you didn't even go to it. And he goes, boy, you're just not right. And so he thought I was crazy. And so I'm like, no, but other people pay me more than I paid. And he was like, why in the world? Like, there's a bunch of idiots out there, So, yeah, I've heard it all. And so that I love the fact that those of us hobby nerds who've been doing this for decades, all of a sudden, people from Wall Street are like, people in three-piece suits come in and want to talk to us about
Yes.
investment advice. it's pretty funny, that they want to put money into our industry. So it's really cool. So it's fun to be accepted after all these decades by more than just the people than our regular customers.
Wow. Sir Joe, final advice for for those who want to start um sports cards buying and selling or sports cards business.
Okay. Whether you have a store or not, is eBay still the most prevalent site there to buy and sell? Okay, assume so. So I recommend, you know, start. Let's say start on eBay. You know, put some cards out there, just to start building your feedback. Get
Okay.
a few sales going, build your feedback. You don't have to have a big full blown website. Start on eBay. Maybe buy a domain for $10, whatever, and put your
Okay.
eBay store on that domain.
Okay.
Do a redirect to your eBay storefront, and then you can get whatever domain you want. I mean, it's easier if you can tie it to whatever your eBay name is, but that's a way to technically have a website. You at least tell people, hey, all my cards are on this site, and it just rolls over to your eBay store.
Okay.
Or in addition to that, get a COMC account. If you're you have
Well,
many customers.
no, there's no COMSI. COMSI is not that known here yet. Oh yeah, but
Okay, all
yeah.
right. So it's coming.
Okay.
And
Really.
because the beautiful thing about COMC is they do the work for you. You can send your raw cards to them. They scan them, they list them, they put them on their site and on eBay.
Wow.
You set the price. We buy and sell on COMC daily,
Wow.
and it's a brilliant. I'm good friends with the owner, so this isn't a push for him, but he's a great guy, and it's a really brilliant model to provide people an ability to put a lot of cards out there quickly without doing a lot of work. Yeah,
Wow.
you got to pay the money up front, the fee up front, but they do the work for you. All you do is price it. They do the shipping. You do the one shipment, you ship it there,
Wow.
and then they do the shipping to the customers. You can manage your. I mean, I have thousands of cards on there, under Got Baseball Cards, and you can do a redirect to your COMC storefront as well. So there's multiple ways to kind of get your name out there at a low cost method. So I recommend that we're talking about selling side and about
Yes.
getting your
Yes.
name out there. As far as buying, I don't know if you have with COVID, probably not, but if there's trade shows to go to, you can go to trade shows, set up there, buy and sell there. It's a way to build your client base, build a customer base, and start handing out business cards with your name and your eBay store or your whatever your website, whatever. Run ads in your local paper that you buy sports cards. Run ads
Yes.
on online, whatever online medium you have there to community swap things. Get your name and say, hey, I buy old sports cards, I buy old comic, whatever things you want to deal in, old coins. And so that's a way to get your name out there and hopefully create some buying opportunities. But I encourage start accept the fact that it's okay to start small and build it a little bit at a time. Like I said,
Yes.
focus on becoming very knowledgeable on either one sport or one area. Maybe you want to be an expert on graded cards, or you want to be an expert on vintage cards, and you want to be known as the buyer in your area for vintage. Like we became known as the breaker for soccer, so as one of
Yes.
the top
Yes.
breakers for soccer. So look for niches that others are not involved in.
Okay.
Pursue that. So find an angle that works for you. Find an angle that works for you. Pursue that angle with all you've got. If it doesn't work, then find a different one. But don't try to take on everything all at once.
Nice.
So there's a few tips for them.
Yeah. We are really blessed for having you. We really learned a lot for this interview, and we really thank you for your time. I was really surprised when you replied to my emails. I even told my wife, "Wow, Mr. Joe Davis replied to me. I was so happy. Me and my son is jumping in our bed, and and we honestly, I'm really inspired of your works, in the sports
Thank
cards
you.
industry, and thank you for your kindness, for sharing your knowledge, even to person you don't know, or a person um who's just starting or small in the industry. And I really thank you, and I hope you all enjoyed our interview with Mr. Joe Davis. Please follow him in his website, www.gotbaseballcards.com, and he also has an eBay store. Also, all you can watch US soccer breaks for all those my followers who are into soccer cards. It is really amazing to watch the US soccer breaks, and subscribe to their YouTube channel, US soccer breaks. Mr. Joe, thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope we can catch up someday, or if I have a chance to visit there, because my mom is there in the US.
Okay.
I would really drop by to your to your store,
Oh
and
yeah.
hopefully,
We love
yeah, I
to
can meet you in person. I can meet you in person.
Hey, yeah, I am honored to be on the show. I appreciate you having me, and open door to come by anytime you're in the States.
So that's our interview with Mr. Joe Davis. I hope you like it. I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope this video added value to you and to those who are thinking of starting sports cards business. I hope this video will help you on starting and eventually growing your sports cards business. This is again Daddy V of Daddy V Vlogs, and I hope you learned from this video. And please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like my videos, and share my videos also, so many could also benefit from this video. With that, guys, see you again next time, and I hope you support my channel by subscribing to my YouTube channel, commenting on the description box below, liking and sharing this video. Have a nice day, everyone, and see you again on our next vlog.